And here we go with Bitcoin's chart of the day. It's actually not a chart of just Bitcoin. It's a chart of Tether dominance versus Bitcoin. And what I wanted to point out here on the monthly, or we could just go to a weekly as well, is that over the long period of time, these have been playing opposite of each other. There is one period where this was not true, that's starting in March 2020 all the way to the highs of October 2020, before Bitcoin essentially broke its prior all-time high, leading into that last major run, that absolutely biblical epic run right there. But ultimately, that was, more or less fundamentally driven due to the, overall situation, right, with the monetary, with the way that monetary policy was essentially evolving out of the Rona dump right there. Other than that, they have been essentially opposite of each other, playing opposite of each other on the macro, which I think does hold a lot of weight, and it's been very, very consistent, especially in the past year and a half here. So I wanted to point out this that I'm kind of looking at to kind of get a bit of a bias on this more like weekly look for Bitcoin. So I'm going to take Bitcoin's paying off there, and we're just gonna focus on the US dollar, the Tether dominance chart right here, which I'm gonna put back onto a dildo format, put on my moving average. Oops, yes, I want my moving average right there. And in the short term right here, we actually are looking at a bit of a rejection right around the 482 high. Now, we spoke about this in the past month as a very, very relevant region to be looking for a pullback from. I believe we're about to get that pullback in the coming week or two. With that in mind, where would pullback targets be? Very, very likely 3.95%, and then probably more likely 3.60%. Problem is, and why I'm highlighting this in advance here, hopefully well in advance, or at least in advance enough, is that as long as it is above 360, I still do look at this as a rather constructive formation and another higher low in the making here long term. So do be aware of that. But in the short term, in the very, very short term, I actually do expect one more try to the upside. But in the medium term, let's say, I'm looking for this one to come down. So that likely does correlate with Bitcoin upside price action. The question is, will Bitcoin be able to get above any one of the critical regions that we kind of been speaking about, namely $44,500 or $45,000, depending upon which time frame you might be using in this case? If it does, then that's really going to change around the macro view of this, and probably going to front run an actual break of this reach right here with another major test much, much lower, which is probably going to imply Bitcoin, working its way up into the mid $50,000 territory. But if we do start to see higher lows within this region, that would be the setup that I'm looking for essentially the other side, for that 45% move to be applied not to the upside but to the downside, somewhere down around about 22 to 23,000 bucks in this case. So I do think that this holds quite a fair bit of weight right here. If we bring up momentum oscillators, I don't think that they really I really don't think that they mean too much on an asset like this, but maybe if we go down to a daily, there'll be something obvious, because I don't necessarily see it on a weekly. And yeah, on the daily, again, short term, I do think that actually tries maybe ever so slightly back up to about 4.5%, just playing out this short term hidden bullish evidence right here. This is not a strong this is not a strong drive right there. Those typically do get rejected, but they do play at a move somewhere in the median of the range, which would be like 450 to 455 or so. And then, of course, volatility very, very low right here. So if we do get another rejection, basically anywhere below about 460, or in this case, about 469, actually, sorry, I misjudged that one. I would be looking at that as your first lower high before that move down. And that probably does time the next major move in Bitcoin and, by extension, the rest of the cryptocurrency market. So that's something that I'm kind of keeping a keen eye on right now. And what I'll do from here is I want to get rid of this, and we're going to go look at CME price action, because this is what we're kind of looking at in the past, over the past week, and I was saying, hey, Bitcoin likely to pull back down somewhere around $41,000 on a closing base. Looks like we've gotten that in the early morning hours. A wick down all the way to about 40,550, it looks like. But ultimately, this is why I operate on closing base Cs. So here's the thing. If I am looking at Bitcoin as quote unquote bullish, I am expecting sideways and up from here. Very likely to come back up and fill the gap somewhere around about 41.9, 42,000 bucks, and then game on from there. Remember, the medium-term time frame analysis still is more or less unchanged here, as long as Bitcoin's below that last lower high, in this case about 42,600 on a closing basis, that being a 4 hour. I don't look at this as resolved, meaning that there are no available targets back up to basically the prior range highs, which is about $44,000 to $45,000, which is kind of a significant move from there, 2,000 to 3,000 bucks essentially. And by contrast to the downside, I look at anything as more or less fine as long as Bitcoin's above specifically about 39,900 on an hourly closure, or about 40,000 even on a 4 hour closure. As long as as long as one of those two conditions is met, I do look at this as, Bitcoin likely going to give another try to the upside and then we get to roll from there. Here's the thing, though. I do think that there are a couple of concerning things to kind of reference the title of today's video, and we'll point them out right after this next point because I wanted to make sure that I get to this because I forgot to postulate this on yesterday's video. But this is a chart of Dixie, the dollar index, and we are getting the pullback that we were looking for based off of the hit target on that measured move from like, this was like half a year ago, but hey, you know, it does happen over time. It just moves slow like molasses in this case. And in the very short-term timeframes for Dixie, which typically does play a little bit opposite of Bitcoin, and I really don't like using anything less than a daily in this case. You know, I think that that's like really starting to split hairs, but you know, I would be looking for this one to give another try back up somewhere around about 98.85 to 98.90ish region, and that's where I'd be expecting that next rejection if this one is going to come down and play out that move to about 97 or so, which is where I'm kind of looking for it to come towards. And again, that would be just like the tether dominance chart, another compounding factor that would, you know, be suggesting that we're more likely to see another try to the upside on Bitcoin and by extension the rest of the cryptocurrency market than not. But still, short term, you know, it probably does get another chance here. So keep your eyes on that region, because if it does start to close above that region, especially on a daily, well, at that point, I mean, I'll probably have to extend the target at least to $100 and then come back to it after that, which is probably going to, you know, affect Bitcoin and the rest, you know, opposite. Anyways, bless you, sir. And of course, assuming that there isn't a, you know, rejection basically anywhere below 99 bucks, I'm looking for this one to come down to about 97 or so before the next bounce, and that likely does bode well for the cryptocurrency market. Anyways, in this case, I'm going to go back to Bitcoin over here and let's talk about the next few things. Of course, while I didn't necessarily go over the downside just yet, let's actually go to it right here. The downside, if validated, which again would be below 39.9 on an hourly or 40,000 on a 4-hour, I actually would be looking at that as the confirmation that well, not only do we have another lower high right here, but this is a downtrend. You know, we have lower lows and lower highs. I would be looking for Bitcoin to come down next to $39,000 for a short-term bounce. Nothing really more than a short-term bounce, to be quite honest with you. You know, might even test back around 40,000 bucks again, but ultimately I'd be looking for Bitcoin to come back down to 37 to 37,500 right here, this blue box territory. The reason why that is very, very relevant, and while I'm calling this at one out, even though it's, you know, it's very far away from happening, but I do want to be, you know, on the books as talking about this, is that if Bitcoin does come back down around there, it puts it in a very precarious place, of which I would say that is where I really start to look at this as one massive redistribution, actually. One massive redistribution, which would be confirmed with a daily closure, specifically below $37,000. I'd even go as far as saying that below 37.5 is probably bad enough. And even if we get like a 4-hour closure below 40,000, you know, again, I am looking for that move to come down around there. So it would put Bitcoin, you know, in a posturing to actually break it, but just like we had it over here with a posture to break the upside, until you actually, you know, confirm that breakout, it's still just, you know, that. So I would still, you know, be a little bit hesitative in that case, but keep in mind, we're coming to the end of the month here, and there are several things postured right around that $37,000 region that, you know, as we spoke about yesterday, would indicate an extremely high probability of a move down to 23,000 ish, you know, bucks within the following months. Of course, there's going to be bounces along the way, obviously, but until then, the Boolahs still have the ball in their court, and that is all contingent upon short-term Bitcoin closing a 4-hour dildo back above 42,600. Again, be getting targets back up to the top side of this range, and that puts Bitcoin in the, you know, in the precarious place for the Boolahs there to play out that move off of the measured move of what would be an ascending triangle right here, which does have a technical target up to $56,000, also in line with 3.272's Fibonacci extension, you know, thus confirming several things along the way. I actually was just perusing around the charts this morning and did notice that on the 3-week chart, you know, again, you can always find a chart or a time frame that's going to confirm your beliefs, right? Or you know, approve some. But in this case, I do think that it is somewhat interesting right here, as Bitcoin on the 3-week chart, if it does confirm above that 44,000 or so level on a higher term time frame like this, we actually will have a pretty significant drive of hidden bullish evidence come off this low right here. Also rejection of the neutral zone, thus, you know, be getting very likely another test into the bullish control zone, and that does have a technical target first towards 52, and then second would be about 57 to 58 or so. So, you know, a lot of things are really at stake here that I do think are going to be resolved probably around the end of this month. So perhaps in like the latter half of this week is where things start to accelerate a little bit more. But as I've been saying for the past couple weeks, and I guess now it's kind of coming to fruition, you know, more or less sideways is still kind of the name of the game for the short term right now. Anyways, What else did I want to get on over to here? Do I want to show off the 5-day chart? I think I'll just briefly go to it. Just to remind, but I don't want to go deep into this one. I've done it so many goddamn times in this past couple weeks that I think it's probably just getting annoying for the people who are regulars here. But basically, 5-day, God damn it. No, I just destroyed my chart. How could I possibly do that? There we go. 5-day volatility versus momentum. Basically, what I'm looking at right here is that 5-day BBWP representing volatility has, in the past few years here, actually on average signaled about a more like a 45% move based off of getting into the teens, as you can see right here. We've seen several iterations just in the past year, actually, that really actually fit the bill in this case, and those all do correlate with this chart right here, playing out those 45%-ish moves over the course of, on average, about 40 days, obviously coming both to the upside and the downside. And what has been a great help in kind of designating where those moves are likely to go towards, or the probability of those moves, where they're likely to move towards, is the 5-day stochastic momentum over here, of which, the reason why I'm pointing this out is that we do see it is actually headed to the upside as of the last couple ticks, and will be remaining to the upside. Very key point right here, as long as Bitcoin's above $37,000. Also getting out of the bearish control zone, equally as important, just like what we saw over the summer as well, in that case off of the July bear trap. But the reason why I'm pointing this out is because right now, that is obviously in the Bulaw's favors, and I do think that holds quite a fair bit of weight, but will be negated and will turn into a very massively bearish thing below $37,000. So do you understand kind of the order operations, at least in the way I'm kind of looking at these things right now? Obviously, you at the end of the day decide for yourself what is relevant towards your own, trading plan and proclivities and whatnot. But until then, I think it would be relevant to maybe go over some of our stochastic momentum oscillators over here on our medium and higher term timeframes, because the daily, thus speaking towards the relevancy of the $40,000 region on CME specifically. Again, CME on Monday and Tuesday, I just find the signals, they work better. They have higher efficacy. Will be upwards postured and actually freshly crossing the upside as long as Bitcoin remains above 40,100. So basically that $40,000 level on a daily closure. So again, another thing that's kind of coming in alignment right at that region that does speak towards the significance of it. And this is a very potent signal right here as well for the next sort of expansion on this volatility. Look at the daily HVP represented by this line. Very fucking low. We haven't seen it this low since like early January on that last massive move to the downside, actually. And of course, ADX is also equally as low here too, very, very severe. And then we also do see that the DMI is getting its first positive flip basically since February rally. So that is significant. And again, it does increase the probabilities that this does get, we see the expansion phase to the upside, but I still want to see the HVP really actually start to get a positive slope there. Right now, we don't necessarily have it as well as the ADX. And my favorite indicator for volatility, of course, is going to be the BBWP. This is actually suggesting that, well, the moving average is getting a positive slope, but this is not expansion just yet. Actually still says that we're probably ranging for now. If we go to CME BBWP, it's certainly still contracting right here. So I'm probably looking at this, likely to contract a little bit more. I don't think that Bitcoin's going to have like a major movement today or tomorrow, for example. I think that we're still waiting. I think that we're still fucking waiting, man. So do keep that in mind, despite all of the, crazy titles and whatnot. This is quite literally a non-emergency warning. It's a non-emergency warning of, of what very likely comes to pass, but it ain't there just yet. And in the short term, I think that we're more or less just looking at more sideways here. Sideways for the Bulaw's is good between about 42.5 and 40,000 even. For the Bear it's going to be great below about 40,000 bucks. Now, I wanted to point this out as well as just the last sort of point in this whole long-term rambling is going to be over here on Ethereum. Ethereum's actually done something that is somewhat concerning right here, actually. Ethereum still operating on lower highs, I do believe. Let me just double check on this one. I'm using the buy daily, by the way. We have extremely low volatility, so we're looking for a move, probably around end of this week, maybe early next week. And in this case, let me just double check. Okay, 29.49 closure versus 29.79. Yeah, sorry, 76. So yeah, we do have technically still lower highs in play. And we would have technically hidden bearish divergence if it does confirm a lower high right here. How would you confirm a lower high? Well, just like Bitcoin, I wouldn't really confirm a high until it's back below about 40,000 bucks on those closing bases that we spoke about. For Ethereum, I would say a daily closure below about 27.50 would do it for me. Until then, I think that the Bulaw's have a bit of a chance here, but yeah, I mean, that, you know, they have a bit of a chance here. So do keep that number in mind, because if that does happen, then we would not just have our third lower high and, you know, about the same lows right here. We'd also confirm hidden bearish divergence plus extremely low volatility. That's a setup that I'd be looking for, you know, for things to come really to come hard down. Come down hard? Come hard down. Come hard down. come down hard. I think it's come down hard. Anyways, it doesn't matter, man. You get what the fuck I'm saying right now. Until then, you know, I do think that the Bullahs again have the ball in their court, and the probabilities are on the favor of the Bullahs side based off of mostly what we saw on Bitcoin on that 5-day signal over there, until proven otherwise. And also for the 2-day Ethereum, you know, Jewel, we do see that it does have, you know, a decent signal right here. Obviously, this one started a little bit ago in middle of March and is supported by DMI as well. So, you know, for what it's worth, a few more things in the court of the Bullahs right there. Anyways, I think that's going to do it for right now. You know, for Ethereum, if you saw any sort of a weekly closure above like 3,100, that would be really good. I'd be looking for big moves up towards 38 to 4,000 in the following weeks if that were to happen. But for right now, I just think Bitcoin, as usual, is the easier chart to be watching. And well, that's basically all that she wrote for that. And to be fair, I mean, Bitcoin actually could very easily put in a drive of hidden bullish divergence right here, as long as it does kind of base off of the 40,600-ish region. So, you know, the short term, I do see that there are a few things relevant right there as well. In fact, you know, we probably should go through the short term stochastic momentum over here as well, just to see. 12-hour will turn down below 40,850. Okay, that would be a little bit concerning. 6-hour will turn up above 41.3, so definitely down signal for now. 4-hour is also down signal below 41.5, not good. And 3-hour is below 41.3. Bi-hourly is below about 42. Okay, so really building up there. And hourly is down as long as we're below about 41.5 or so. So I'd go as far as saying that, you know, back above about 41.5, 41.6 on an hourly closure. That's when I really start to confirm this as you know, as a local low. That's a higher low. That's confirming hidden bullish divergence, and, you know, probably another try up towards 42.5 or so. And then everyone gets to hold their breath, I suppose. Anyways, that is going to be it for Bitcoin right now. We got the pullback that we're looking for. Now a bit of a range, and hopefully for the Bullahs' sake, a bit of a higher low right there. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful, and there you go, sirs and zers. Lovely.